Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is FiveXFive and I'm Simo. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to click subscribe. And we're back again talking about Star Trek Picard. The latest episode had a whole bunch of stuff happening in it, so I'm going to go through it all, but understand that this is another recap and review episode. So if you haven't watched the episode yet, make sure to watch the episode and come back before you watch this episode to make sense of it all, because I don't want to ruin anything. This is going to be a spoiler heavy video. So this episode essentially lays everything on the table. There are no mysteries left anymore. It wraps everything up. This episode opens with Narissa having flashbacks, and her memories put everything into context and fill in all the missing blanks. The episode opens with her remembering like an entrance rite of the Zhat Vash on some mysterious location, planet. I've seen some interesting memes. It looks like one of those, you know, those circular pizza box holders that some delivery places, it looks like that. I'm sure it made a lot of sense to the designers. So that happened. In the flashback, we see Commodore O, Narissa, and her aunt, who is the survivor from the Borg cube that Soji was trying to treat. They were all there at the Zhat Vash initiation ritual. I guess the test was they all received visions from the pizza box artifact, and that was supposed to compel them into loyalty to the Zhat Vash and their mission. And the visions are apparently so extreme. I mean, we've seen clips of them, but apparently they're so extreme that they drive the recipient crazy. That's what happened to most of the people that were trying to undergo the ritual. Only Narissa and her aunt survived. Everyone else committed suicide after receiving the visions. Presumably, if you survive, you become devout, which is pretty common in any religious cult. So coming back out of the flashbacks and into the present timeline, Narissa is nursing her aunt in a room on the Borg cube after the events of the last episode, after Soji and Picard escape and after Hugh gets killed. And so Narissa is nursing her aunt, and she's essentially monologuing the whole time, and in the process she's filling a lot of the blanks of the episode. And in her process of monologuing and exposition, she really demonstrates how close she is with her aunt. She apparently has a very good relationship with this aunt. They're very close. Also in the exposition, it essentially reveals everything that I had suspected and mentioned in my previous videos. So the Zhat Vash is a Romulan apocalypse doomsday cult that is protecting, or believes they're protecting, the universe from the existence of synthetic life, and their sole purpose is to protect from synthetic life evolving into something that could threaten organic life. Meanwhile, elsewhere on the cube, Seven shows up and rescues Elnor. He gives her a big hug. It's very cute. It looks like we're going to have sort of a repeat of Seven's maternal relationship with Icheb, but with Elnor. We'll see how that goes. Interestingly, Seven does take over the Queen's chamber on the cube that was revealed in the previous episodes, and she tries to use the cube and the Borg that are still on it to remove the Tal Shiar. Meanwhile, Soji arrives on the La Serena. Rios lays eyes on her and immediately recognizes her. He goes into some sort of like cross between PTSD and awe. He's totally starstruck or stunned by seeing Soji, and he definitely recognizes her. It's pretty clear from the acting performances and the way it's shot that he's recognizing her somehow. So now we've looped Rios's character into this very small universe of events. That's just how it is. At the same time, Raffi comes up to Picard and she exposes Jurati as the person who allegedly killed Bruce Maddox. So at the same time, Raffi takes a moment to confront Picard for bringing Soji. This is kind of an uncomfortable situation because Raffi doesn't trust anybody, especially a synthetic, with their reputation. And Raffi also points out to Picard that they were wrong about Jurati and it was a mistake to bring her on board, because she then exposes Jurati as the person who assassinated Maddox. Picard's pretty shook from the entire series of revelations, so he retreats to his holographic ready room and calls for reinforcements. That was kind of an awkward scene in my opinion. I didn't feel like that scene really worked. Just seemed like an excuse to, I don't know, have some power dynamics or something going on. It was weird. And of course, while Picard is in his ready room, Raffi is taking the time to piece together all of the different elements of the mystery and the conspiracy and everyone's connections to that. She starts by interviewing the emergency navigation hologram and piecing together the symbols that she had seen in the previous episode episode that all the crazy Romulans on the Borg cube had been drawing, and they're apparently a representation of an octenary star system, which would be a star system with 8 stars in it. She pieces together that this is most likely the origin of the Zhat Vash, their system, or wherever they've been basing their operations or something along those lines. And so from there, she spirals into her investigation, asking everyone she can for more information to help her sort of string everything together and piece everything together. Meanwhile, back on the Borg cube, Seven is taking her role in trying to get Elnor and herself off of the cube very seriously and purge the Tal Shiar, so she connects to the cube's control systems, and she technically becomes either queen herself or a temporary hive mind. It's not really sure what it is. It's probably intended to be that she becomes a temporary queen, which I thought was a really cool moment. Very interesting character arc for Seven to come all this way and full circle. We see that she has both the responsibility and obligation to take over the role of being a collective for all of these Borg after herself being freed and not ever wanting to go through the experience again and having to inflict it on other people. And of course, while she's doing that, the Romulans that are still on the cube, Narissa is in charge, starts purging all the XBs. So she orders them to be ejected into space, blow the seals. It's what it is. Meanwhile, back on the La Serena, Soji and Picard are having a nice quiet dinner. They're sort of trying to piece together everything that's happening, and it's just a nice quiet moment with each other, with the two of them. I think it's meant to frame Picard as this really awkward parental figure, but this is pretty weird because they're trying to position Picard as being an awful parent because he's never had children, but this is not actually true. In a Next Generation episode, he went through a simulated life and lived to be grandparent, and he considered the experience, he had full recollection of the experience, and he considered the experience to be incredibly real. So he had actually experienced falling in love, taking a partner, having children, and then also having grandchildren as well. So he wouldn't really be an awkward or inexperienced parent in this situation. So it looks like whoever's writing has not really done their homework on the character a little bit. Sorry guys, calling you out on that one. And while Picard and Soji are having their dinner, Raffi is still going around talking to all of the holograms on the La Serena. She's still trying to conduct her interview and piece everything together. After running into Soji on the transporter platform, Rios has really gone into a tailspin. He's kind of retreated to his quarters and he's totally wasted. And Raffi shows up to talk with him and try and connect with him and make sure he's okay. And through the conversation, all of his back history gets revealed. He reveals that he left Starfleet because of the death of his captain, but there's no details on that at this point, and it's later going to come out in the episode. We'll come back to that. This relationship was really important to him. It seems like his captain, in a lot of ways, was like a father figure to him. Meanwhile, Jurati wakes up and she admits everything to Picard, but she can't explain exactly specifically everything that's going on because Commodore O had put mental blocks in place, so she's able to talk around the events of what happened but not speak to specific events that she witnessed or that she's aware of. So everybody has to piece it together around her and she can essentially confirm it. That's apparently how it works. She does explain a little bit. She's able to explain that the Zhat Vash vision that she experienced is like some sort of mental poison to her. And because of that, every day that she lives with those memories is like, well, it's poisoning her soul and she's become suicidal as a result. She just wants to be rid of these memories and ideas. She also explains that there's some sort of developmental threshold for artificial life, or at least that this is what the Zhat Vash believe. And once that threshold is breached, someone shows up to clean up the mess. So this idea is similar to the warp threshold, where in Star Trek lore, once a society achieves warp travel, the Federation goes from ignoring the planet to making first contact, and they will show up and make first contact with the cultures so that they don't have a rude awakening when they start exploring the universe around them. So the idea is something similar happens with artificial life. Once this threshold of development is breached, someone reaches out. In this case, apparently it's not a really friendly greeting, but someone will reach out once this threshold is breached and all hell breaks loose, apparently. Or at least this is what the Zhat Vash believe, and this is therefore what Jurati believes because of the visions. So back in Rios's quarters, Raffi is trying to help Rios through the entire experience, and Rios explains that he recognizes Soji. He believes she is a woman he met like 14 years ago or something along those lines. She looks identical, and that's of course why he froze when he encountered her on the transporter. And he also explains that the entire situation, the mission where he met her, was really complicated. It's the mission where he lost his captain. So apparently his ship received some sort of black flag directive from Commodore O, directing them to destroy Soji and her companion at the time, and then cover it up. Rios's captain followed the orders, but Rios's captain had a crisis of conscience, couldn't handle what he had just done to these two travelers, and killed himself. Rios was directed to cover all of this up or risk having his crew being wiped out as well. And he did it reluctantly, and within a few months he was pushed out of Starfleet as part of the cover-up for the events, because he had to be discredited, he'd be a liability, right? If he ever decided to talk to people or get better. And that's why he's not in Starfleet anymore, and why he's the captain of his own ship, La Sirena. Meanwhile, in another part of the ship, Soji and Jurati have now had a chance to meet, and they are talking, they're getting along. Jurati has gone from, I want to kill Maddox and the synth life because Commodore O gave me visions, to, oh my god, you're the most incredible thing I've ever seen, you're like an angel on Earth. She's in total awe of Soji. It's cute, but it's hard to kind of ignore the fact that she tried to kill a whole bunch of people. Meanwhile, back on the Borg cube, Narissa is killing everything that she sees. She's ejecting Borgs into space, and she's trying to escape the Borg cube as well because she's losing the battle to control it. She eventually gets transported off of the cube by one of the Romulan ships that were parked nearby. And back on the La Sirena again, the entire crew gets together in one room, sits down at the table, and they all start talking. Raffi has been able to piece everything together and informs everyone about everything. Rios's relationship to Soji is also brought out, and Rios explains that he had met Soji, and then as soon as he did that, Soji started to remember everything and felt compelled to go back to her homeworld, and she asks the crew to take her home. And that's who the two people that Rios had met on that mission 14 years ago were. They were emissaries from Soji's homeworld that Rios's captain had killed. That pretty much wraps it up. It was another good episode. It was nice sort of having everything pieced together. In terms of narrative, I guess it was an above average episode. I guess I was a little disappointed because I was hoping for more from this story, but the story literally played out as I suspected it would and laid out in my previous videos. So there were no surprises. It is what it is. It was still fun, but yeah, there was no surprises. The next episode is set up to give us a really great look at Soji's homeworld and I guess the conflict that's going to happen between the Tal Shiar and Federation reinforcements, Starfleet reinforcements. So we'll see how that goes. But in terms of explaining the whole plot to destroy synthetic life and the connection to the incident that happened on Mars and the Jade Vache and everything, it was all very cleanly tied up. The only real surprise, which was a little too convenient, was Rios's connection to everything. That would have been fixed if we had just known more about Rios earlier on in the season, and it wouldn't have felt so, we're going to reveal it, and then 5 minutes later we'll also reveal how it's all connected to every other event that's happened this season. That was a little eh. On that note, let's wrap up the episode. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to click like and subscribe. Click the bell for notifications so you are notified whenever there is a new video. As always, thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see everyone soon.